Good afternoon. I hope that you're well. I'm trusting that you're there. I know Sam is not coming today. She has an IB workshop that she is part of, and inshallah, Sarah will come into our meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
How was your weekend so far?
So far so good. I had a slow morning, which I needed.
Good.
Yesterday was long. Stayed at work late and then did my workout. And then I had a binge episode with Netflix and was up later than I wanted to be, but
Was it fun?
kind of nice. Yeah, it was like nice. Kind of like I watched 1899.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a new thing. It's like a kind of like a mystery mind-bending series on Netflix.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds great. Maybe I'll binge watch that too.
Yeah, it's good. So recommend.
Thanks.
What about you?
I was watching Manifest recently. There's have you heard of it or seen it on Netflix?
I watched the first few seasons. I know there's a new season out, but
I'm only in the third season. It's interesting. It's a little bit like repetitive in a sense, but still interesting.
yeah. Definitely one that is better watched in installments instead of binging.
Yes, I don't watch too many episodes at once. Usually like one or two, and then I'm like, and next. But I did watch the new Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie, and it's awesome. So I highly recommend that. Yeah, it's called Falling for Christmas, I think, or Falling for something. Anyway, it's very cute. I recommend it.
Check it out. I like Christmas movies.
Yeah, I do too. Especially the corny ones they put on Netflix. I'm a big fan. They all have the same storyline, and they're all excellent.
Yeah. Heartwarming.
Yes. So this week we're talking about mindset. And while we totally have been talking about mindset for the entire program, we're just going to do a little bit of extra focus and attention on that this week. And we're really going to work on the idea of the self-coaching model and how to make sure you're getting the most out of it. So I asked how you are, but would you like to tell me how your mind is this week instead of just asking like how you are in general, like how is your head feeling today?
Probably a lot like it was on Wednesday. Just I need to rest because sort of like the looped thoughts kind of take over a little bit.
Yes.
I'm aware of them. They don't grab me, but I know I'm tired.
Yeah. Oh, the perpetual teacher tired. The thing. So today, let's think about how the mindset matters. We'll talk about the different types of mindset. We'll do a check-in, practices like check-in with yourself, affirmations that you can use, thought ladders, and the daily self-coaching model. And then I found this really amazing. I've seen it before, but then I found it again. I was looking for it. There's really good TED Talk about the power of mindfulness, and it's only like about 10 minutes long. And if we have the time, I want to share it with you. If not, I'll just send you the link. But it's a really great little TED Talk. And I like the way the lady phrases things. She just clarifies it in a nice way. So I'll make it a little bit. Whoa, what's happening? Mindset matters really the most. And the reason that I say this is because our thoughts are what are kind of propelling everything else. And so when we focus on our mindset and we do the work on our mindset, it's part of the process of neuro-linguistic programming, where you really do reprogram your brain, and it starts with looking at your mindset. And the daily self-coaching model works if you do. And I know this from personal experience, because I was self-coaching myself every single day for about, I don't know, 6-7 months. And then I got a little bit lax on it and kind of stopped doing it for a few weeks. And I noticed a huge difference in my focus, my drive, my attention, everything, because I wasn't doing that daily mindset work. And it's really helpful if you can do it kind of in the morning, but if you can't, any time of the day that you can take some time to really focus on your goals and your mindset is really great. And it can be like little sporadic bits throughout the day where you're having a mindset need to reset, like maybe something's going on or those ruminating thoughts are happening. You can cut the stress cycle and reset. So when we are going through all these things of mindset, we really start to notice our limiting beliefs that come up, any shadows kind of come out into the light. And then I guess they're not shadows anymore once we reveal them, but some of them can still be shadows that we need to work on. And it's that hard and uncomfortable stuff that we start to face. And we have to work really a lot on cultivating self-love through all of this. And the compassion that we would extend towards others, we really have to go into our own mindsets with that compassion already extended. It serves you as a daily practice. And when you show up for yourself each day, you feel a little bit better. And when you let yourself matter the most, that love multiplies for everyone else as well. So it's that same example of filling up your cup first, and you want it to actually be overflowing, because then you have so much more to give to everybody else, and you're not resentful, and you're not saying, oh, but you're taking some of mine and what I need. If you fill up yourself first, you have so much to go around, and you're able to share the energy, but your own energy has to be cultivated. It has to be fulfilled. So we have a new mindset and we will get new results. If we keep stuck in our old mindset, even if it's just about one particular thing, you'll remain stuck there. It's okay to change. We are meant to change, and there are ways we can do that. So this is just a short video about neuroplasticity, and it's a really good way to understand the science, except you won't be able to hear this. Give me 1 second. I have to share the screen with sound. There. Okay. So this is just about how our
Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childhood, that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults. But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well-travelled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep travelling that road, our brains begin to use this pathway more, and this new way of thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. The old pathway gets used less and less and weakens. This process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. The good news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains. If you have ever changed a bad habit or thought about something differently, You have carved a new pathway in your brain and experienced neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.
I just really liked the way this one gave that illustration of the neural pathways and how I've talked a lot about the samskaras, the grooves in our brain. It's basically that in a visual format. So when we think about type, do you have a question? Was that a noise?
No, I just wanted to say that is a nice, concise video.
Right? It was really a very nice video. Good job, those people who made it.
Nice
They actually
brain pattern too. That was a good graphic.
The Centis, they have a lot of really simple videos about that are actually really good for probably teaching kids even.
Oh, that's helpful.
And look, they have like animation, and they have one that tells us about how the immune system reacts when our stress levels are up. Like, they have really nice videos. This types of mindset. So there are so many types of mindset that I have read about and learned about, and still come across different ones all the time. And there are 4 that for me have really resonated, and kind of I see them as this progressive pattern. So we have the most abundant mindset. It's believing you always have enough of everything and there will always be more. There's the growth mindset, which we learn a lot about as teachers, that believing your abilities can improve with effort and practice, and appreciating the process of growth. There's the fixed mindset, where you believe your qualities like abilities, skills, and intelligence are fixed and cannot change. And then there's scarcity mindset, believing you lack and will not have enough of anything like time or money or connections or resources. And even though we particularly live in a very wealthy society, you can see a lot of scarcity mindset in the way so many things operate, whether it be like the way our kids react to something, or something that's going on in our lives that we feel like we're lacking, especially when it comes to time. We often feel like there's not enough time. And really, all of this is just a matter of our mindset. The way we look at something, the way we focus on something, we can shift that, and instead of having it work against us, let it work for us. And this is all part of self-development. And this is week 8 of our 12-week program, which means this is the last week of the section called self-development. The first one was self-awareness. Now we're in self-development. Not that it ends, but the focus of developing yourself will continue your entire life. And you can either choose to focus and pay attention and actually try to develop yourself, or kind of just go with the flow in life, which is neither the right or the wrong way, but it just matters our intention and that mindset that we're bringing into it. So your mindset will determine how you navigate your life situations, and you don't have to feel amazing or good all the time. We often try to shove away negative emotions, or maybe when we were growing up, we were told that they're not something we should experience or focus on, and to kind of just brush them under the rug. But now we know, and science even shows us, that if we actually allow our emotions to process and to vibrate and to be and to live in our bodies, to experience and to feel them, we actually can transmute that energy, and that energy will turn into whatever we're transmuting it to. Now, trauma is actually a result of trapped emotions in your body. And so we can work with anything that's traumatic in our lives and allow it to move through our bodies by spending time acknowledging it, getting deep with it, feeling the feelings that are coming up, trying to understand what they're teaching us, and over time processing them and letting them go. When we can do this, and we create a lot more space in our life, and there's openness. And so then we can choose to move forward through everything and anything, but it is a choice, and it has to be a conscious choice, because when you're trying to work through something and have a different result, it is your choice. It is the thought that you have that's going to help you determine your result, just like the unintentional model versus the intentional model. If you intentionally want to work through something, you can get to that result and then work your way backwards and see how you'll actually reach it. But if you're just unintentional, it's going to be really challenging to break through the things that you're maybe working on or don't even know that you want to work on yet. And with a positive mindset and a courageous heart and your soul leading the way, you can't go wrong. When we trust our intuition, we don't get it wrong. And there's more on intuition next week, which is awesome. It's one of my favorite topics. Setting aside time each day this week, I would like to challenge you even to try every single day this week, in the morning if possible, to take time to look at your thoughts that are coming up, write them down, and then work on an unintentional and an intentional thought and see how it makes a difference in your life. Have you, I know you've been using the model, have you considered it as part of your practice every day?
I've considered it. I know that it's super helpful, but I haven't gotten there yet. So I appreciate the 7-day challenge.
Okay, a little nudge. And I'm going to do it with you actually, because yesterday I did it and I was like, oh yeah, this is why. And I did it in the morning. I thought this is why it's so helpful to do it in the morning, because it kind of just gives you some clarity and direction on your day, as well as empowerment. And so when we can empower ourselves each day, we get so much more done. It's actually kind of cool. But not like we spend more time doing things. That's also not what I mean. It's just that we are focused. So the things that we want to achieve tend to happen when we put our mindset in the right place. Mindset is a lot of attitude, behavior, action, and that leads to our success. So attitude matters, and we can use different practices depending on our attitude or our mood. So when you're faced with a challenging situation, instead of handling it in a reactive manner, if you can take a moment and create space for yourself and just breathe and check in, you can evaluate the situation. Excuse me. You can use tools and practices that you're already familiar with, or try new ones with openness. So affirmations are one of my go-tos and mantras, because they really just take your mind off of what's going on. So like if I'm having a reactive response to something and I'm not breathing, or I'm in my, in my chest breathing, not in my deep belly breathing, and I'm kind of panicked, I try to think of affirmations that help me get through situations, like I'm exactly where I need to be right now. I'm not in a rush. Everything is working out for my greatest good. I trust the universe. And I just kind of remind myself of these things, even if in that moment I'm not really trusting things and I'm not feeling connected. I use these affirmations or mantras to help me get into that place so I can begin to calm down. Thought ladders, I think I've taught you before, but I'm going to teach them to you today. And the intentional thought model to work on your conscious thoughts and rewire your subconscious thought patterns. Because when we use the model and we put in our unintentional thoughts, we can actually see where we're coming up with thought errors and things that aren't actually true. And we can begin to challenge them in a curious and caring way. When we ask why, when we get really curious, we start to see our own patterns. And then we also give ourselves space to dream and imagine. And it's really a nice way to get into our ingrained self and then rewire that. I talked about affirmations. Yes. Oh yeah. The more you write them, practice them, and repeat them, the more they stick. So think about walking through the woods. There's no path, but you are going to make a path. And the first time you walk through the woods, you kind of can see where the brush has been knocked down. But the next time you're going to walk that path, you create even more of a carved out space. And then as you continue to walk that path again and again and again, it gets very clear, very easy, and it's almost second nature to you. And it becomes part of that. When you're thinking about it as an affirmation, it becomes part of like your actual sayings and what you believe, and it becomes the thoughts that you actually believe. And over time, these turn into habits and a part of our personality. So we can actually change our personality through our thoughts. It takes a lot of time and effort because we are stubborn creatures, but it's so possible. Or it could be a really instant change where somebody has an identity shift and then they're able to just go from one way to another, and it doesn't take as much time, but it still takes effort for sure. And then the thought ladder, the idea is to think a little bit better each time, to feel a little bit better each time. You don't have to be amazing, just better. The self-coaching model is a game changer, so we're going to use it. I'll come back to this video in 1 second. I wanted to go on to the daily check-in and to the thought ladder first. So when I teach yoga classes and when I live my life, I use this check-in to ask myself how I am on all levels, because I think of people and beings as these layered humans. And I really think about the yogic philosophy of the kosha bodies. And I want to check in with every layer of myself because they're all different, but they're all very much integrated and they make up who I am and who everybody else is. So I check in with the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, and my thoughts that come up here are often my conscious thoughts. And sometimes I will notice my unconscious thoughts or subconscious thoughts come up in different patterns. Usually they're ones that aren't serving me, to be fair. And I try to work on them when I'm either meditating or journaling so that I can kind of get to the root of why these limiting beliefs are coming up for me. The intellectual body and our intuition, this takes practice and time to really hone in on if you've been ignoring it for a while. But once you reconnect with your intuition and you let it guide you, it's amazing because it's not wrong. Sometimes we mix it up with a signal that isn't our intuition, but when we're truly following our intuition, we don't get things wrong. Our heart and our brain connect and they communicate to us very clearly. So when we tune in, it's really a beautiful experience. And then our soul, that can mean so many things to you. I kind of think of it sometimes as the light and the aura inside of me, or the aura outside of me, but the light inside of me. And I feel like, that one for me, I check in and ask myself, do I feel bright today? Do I feel dim? Do I feel alive? Do I feel disconnected? Those kinds of questions I ask myself to see how I'm doing. Where's the thought ladder? Let's go to the thought ladder. So the thought ladder is the idea that you can walk yourself from maybe a really negative place to a slightly better place, and then so on and so forth until you keep climbing and you feel like you are out of a negative thought. And it doesn't have to happen instantly. It can be something you have to work on even moment to moment, depending on what thought is. But I like to work with the overwhelmed to manageable, because this can be how we often feel in daily life, whether you're a teacher, a business person, a mom. We often have this overwhelmed feeling because I think a lot of the time we even forget, even though we're intentionally practicing being more present in our bodies, but we forget that we don't need to constantly be doing things in order to be worthy, in order to be whole, in order to be any of this. And so when we're in overwhelm, it's usually just that thought, I am overwhelmed. And that is a pretty deep and dark thought. It can be, because it feels like you don't even have a path out. You don't know how to get out of this. So a little thought up from that, you could say, I am not sure what to do, because then at least not everything's crashing around you. you can try to change your thoughts a little bit more to a neutral way, where you just have an I am statement of a fact. I am experiencing emotions. And this thought is very helpful in many thought ladders. So even if you're not overwhelmed, maybe you're angry, having the neutral thought of I am experiencing emotions or I am experiencing anger is a really great place to take your thought from I am angry and I am like ready to blow up to this is just the feeling that I'm having. Then when you're there, you can actually start to feel into what is anger, what is overwhelm, what is sadness, what is maybe excitement, because sometimes excitement takes over and it becomes a little much. So then we can try to figure something out, and then you can maybe even get to the place where you can manage any challenge or manage the one task at a time. I left a couple blank thought ladders because I thought in today's practice it would be really nice to try to build a thought ladder for something that maybe it's a limiting belief, maybe it's a feeling or an emotion that is coming up for you again and again, maybe something you're ruminating on that could be used helpful in this thought ladder. Do you have any?
Do I have any?
Of course you do. Which one would you like to pick?
I'm rich in ruminations. Well, I've been ruminating about my relationship.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna use the one down here because it has more space. Relationship. Okay. And how does it make you feel?
Like, I don't know, I can feel myself creating distance because I don't feel super secure in the relationship for a very specific reason.
Okay. So the question would be, feel secure in this relationship? Like, of course, people want to feel secure, but do you want to feel secure in this relationship?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to just write down to start insecure to secure, because this gives us like a basis of how you can maybe get there. I can't spell today. Insecure to secure. Okay. Do you want to elaborate at all? You do not have to.
Well, it's so my boyfriend has a sister who lives in Kuwait.
Oh, okay.
He told me that he would introduce us when we first started getting serious. This was, I would say, about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
Then he revealed to me that his last girlfriend was very jealous of his sister in a weird way, and like actually was menacing.
Oh.
And he has like a lot of anxiety surrounding it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's too much for him. To me, it feels like it's kind of insulting. Like, do you think I would hurt your family? And the thought that keeps coming up is like, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna hurt you or your family, but like I am hurting myself, like by participating in this.
Because it's not honoring what you need.
It's just like a big part of his life that I'm excluded from. And it's like, we're not getting closer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's not bringing me in. He's like kind of keeping me at arm's length. And I think that that's more the issue. Like, so I think he's just sort of, I think it's an excuse, to be honest. But maybe that's not true or fair either.
It sounds like he has some, like he's projecting what happened a little bit from the past, that it might happen with you, and that's something maybe maybe you could help him and take it to the model with him, like actually that thought of that past person who was that person versus you, who is an entirely different person with an entirely different intention, and he could actually work through that thought of like why he thinks that you would be of any, you know, any harm to his family.
Yeah.
It, like, is he open to talking about it?
I think he would be. I'm just trying to think if, I don't know. I've given him space around it, but it's been months and months. And there's just been like a lot of things going on in life. Like his sister had a baby, you know, he's super busy with work. He is like, these are all legitimate, like her family's been sick. So there's been legitimate reasons why.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened yet. But like, yesterday, his other sister flew in from Dubai, and they were all hanging out. So we didn't have our usual Thursday date night.
Yeah.
And, you know, like he's always telling me about his family and telling me about his sister, but it's just, I don't know. I'm like, you know, back in my mind, I'm always like, oh, the sister that you think that I would probably harm.
Have you recently, like as in like this week or ever, just come out and said, I want to meet her now, please?
No, I don't think it would be received well. I did get her like a baby present, and she sent me like some art supplies. She does want to meet me. It's just him.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
so his family knows I exist.
That's
Or
good.
his sister does anyways, but I don't know.
Because sometimes we have these ideas, like we think we've communicated and maybe we haven't in a way that has rung true with them. And so, yeah, maybe just actually, and not saying it in a way that wouldn't be received well, but finding a way that would be received well, but being very clear, like this is something that is very important to you in order to feel secure. So we can even like look at this thought ladder, and if you're feeling insecure now, what thought is it? Simply I feel insecure, or is there like more to this thought that you would like to add?
I don't know if it's like I just don't, I'm losing confidence in the relationship.
Okay. That's
And I really, you know, like the longer this gets drawn out, like I really just feel like he's hedging bets. It's making me, then I have me thoughts about him. Like, I'm just like, that motherfucker. If he thinks, you know, like,
yeah,
I'm just mad, honestly.
yeah. Girl, I know, because I've been there and I'm still kind of there. Like I haven't met Rami's family. Like I've met his cousin and his sister, but like his parents, he's been saying I'm gonna meet them for like a couple years now, and it still hasn't happened. So I understand. It's challenging.
Yeah.
So I am losing confidence in the relationship. What is a thought that would support you more? That's a little maybe less negative. Can you think of one?
You know, the way that I sort of reframe it is like, well, there's no other like dimension in our relationship where I'm like, have a big question mark about. Everything else is good. And it is a healthy relationship for now, except for the way that I am mentally engaging with it secretly.
And the key there is secretly, because once you make it maybe more known and communicate this, because if he doesn't understand that this is making you have such negative thoughts about everything, he's
Well,
not
I
going
did bring it up like a few months ago when we talked about when he revealed that his ex-girlfriend is just like kind of emotionally unstable.
to.
You know, I did bring it up. I was just like, you said that I would meet your sister. That hasn't happened. Like, am I, you know, like your Western girlfriend that you can introduce to your, you know, open-minded Western friends, and then that's it? Was that a false promise? Just to sort of like seal the deal. I said it in a more vulnerable and like less aggressive way, but that was the gist. And then he revealed his past trauma. I mean, he went to counseling over this too, so
Wow.
insert that to be fair.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to put in this thought, this is the only real issue of our relationship, because that's really a helpful thought to have when you can have perspective. Then what could you make this thought process more neutral, like something that's just kind of factual and just kind of happening, even stating what is going on, like I haven't, like I have not met the sister yet, like something like super basic. That
we just put that. I haven't met.
Okay, I've not met the sisters. And then going from a negative to a positive thought, a little bit more positive, what could you support yourself with? And it doesn't have to necessarily be about meeting the sisters. It could also just be about the way you're going to change your mindset about this in your relationship. I will, I am, I can, I have.
I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, so you could look at the positives of your relationship. So before you were saying this is the only real issue of our relationship, could you find something in your relationship that gives you confidence that this, like meeting the sisters, might happen and that you will feel secure in the future?
Sorry, it's so loud over here.
I don't know. I don't notice at all, to be honest. Like maybe something like I will, even the thought of like talking to him more about it, like I will pursue this issue with my partner, or communicate. Or you could even set a boundary for yourself, like I will have this conversation by this date in order to uphold whatever it is you need to uphold. Or you could even, if this is a deal breaker for you, you could be really clear about that for yourself and have that boundary.
Well, the thought was, you know, like I will give this 3 more months.
Oh, good. Okay, I will give this. There, you're setting yourself a time limit. You have a direction. And how does it make you feel 3 more months?
I feel like that's like a fair amount of time.
Yeah, positively optimistic. It's fair.
Like, you know, life is busy, you know, and I get it, you know, like I'm not gonna demand to meet a sister, you know. And part of me just like feels like I'm not gonna force this if you don't want it.
Yeah.
But when I say I will give this 3 more months, like if there's not any movement, like then I need to make a decision whether is this healthy?
Yep, that's really good. That is a really good boundary to have, actually. Good for you. Yeah, sounds like you have a plan, actually. Good for you. So then how can you get to a thought that actually just makes you secure? And maybe it's about yourself now, because you're giving this 3 more months. You went from I'm losing confidence into the relationship. What about your confidence in yourself? What about your security in yourself? What about your security of this 3 more months decision in honoring yourself?
I guess I just have to feel secure, like it's okay to be alone.
Yeah.
Like I'm 42. Like if I don't.
And you could always meet somebody later in life anyway. It's not like age has a determinant.
But you know, I mean,
yeah.
Intellectually, I know that, but emotionally, I think a lot of people struggle with that. It's just like, but
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
It's okay to be alone. And are you secure in yourself?
I would say that I'm pretty consistent.
Okay.
And my emotional life is fairly consistent. And
That's good.
I'm pretty detached from the thoughts that would create insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
But I could have a better mindset for sure. I mean, that's why I'm doing this, working on it, chipping away at it.
Yeah, of course. And it's like this always kind of journey, because it never ends, but it's just being able to get to those points where we feel better. So even if you're not like actually able to say like, I am secure in myself, do you trust yourself to make the best decision for you?
Yeah.
So can I add that here? I trust myself to make the best decision for me. And sometimes, especially for me, like telling myself that I trust myself is a huge permission, almost like a huge grant to myself, where I'm like, I trust you, go ahead, make the decision you need to make. And then what's really important is that you uphold whatever you're trusting yourself with, because that's what builds self-trust. And when we talk about intuition next week, we talk a lot about how when we do things that show ourselves we can trust ourselves, we actually develop our intuition and we develop that ability to rely on ourselves more. So if you're going to give yourself 3 months, what month is it now? November, December, January. In January, uphold yourself to this and actually like reevaluate and trust yourself to make the best decision for you and do it. I know easier said than done, but this is my little bit of advice on that part. I will save this screen and send it to you after. So the daily self-coaching model, your work, like I already let you know, your work this week is to focus on your mindset and shifting your emotions. So learning to manage and move through your difficult emotions and be okay with being uncomfortable is the work. And it can also feel like joy and self-discovery or sanctuary or freedom. So I really encourage you and challenge you, put it on paper if you can. There's that pen to brain connection. And I know you write in your journal, so that's easy for you probably. But putting it on paper, making it more real, getting that energy concrete is a really great way to feel into this model each time you're doing it. And then I wanted to show you some mindset affirmations. These will hopefully be useful to you this week and all the weeks. I trust that I am on the right path. Did I tell you about affirmations before, that it's not enough to just like say them, but we have to like feel them?
Yeah. to really sort of embody them, and then also when writing them or repeating them, like use multiples of 3.
So these affirmations, except for like 2 of them, I wrote them, and they were with me when I was really feeling these emotions. And like my mind is full of brilliant ideas. I can really get behind that one. Not every day, not every moment, but when I keep practicing that one, it just empowers me. I give myself permission to do what is right for me, giving yourself that trust, that permission. I allow myself to be who I am without judgment. I create a safe and secure space for myself wherever I am. And I love the one that I trust that I'm on the right path. That is kind of an anchor in my life, and I need to use it a lot because it's easy, especially in our social media world, where we get sidetracked and we look at what everybody else is doing, and that's all great for everybody else. We have our own mission here. We have our own purpose here. And even if somebody's doing something similar a little bit, it doesn't matter because we're doing it our way. And sometimes we collaborate and come together and make things better, but trusting that you're on the right path, staying in your lane. Sure, you can have a little glance over, check your rear view mirror, but just stay in your lane and keep doing the things you're doing because you're on your own right path and it's all good. The great thing is that the universe is always working for us. So even when it seems like a failure or a mistake or a challenge, we're actually learning a lot from it. And that's kind of nice to hold on to. So do you have any questions or comments about any of that?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so then I'll share with you this lady. I can't remember what her name is. We'll find out in a second. But the power of mindfulness.
If, in rush hour traffic, you can remain perfectly calm, if you can see your neighbors travel to fantastic places without a twinge of jealousy, if you can love everyone around you unconditionally, and if you can always find contentment just where you are, then you're probably a dog, right? We hold ourselves to these unrealistic standards of perfection, and then we judge ourselves when we don't live up to them. The thing is, we're not supposed to be perfect. Perfection isn't possible, but transformation is. All of us have the capacity to change, to learn, and to grow, no matter what our circumstances. As a professor and scientist, I study how people change, how people transform. And one of the most effective vehicles I've found is mindfulness. My own journey into mindfulness was unexpected. When I was 17, I had spinal fusion surgery, a metal rod put in my spine.
That's what they wanted to do to me.
I went from a healthy, active teenager to lying in a hospital bed, unable to walk. And during the many months of rehabilitation, I tried to figure out how to live in this body that could no longer do what it used to. The physical pain was difficult, but worse was the fear.
I'm just going to stop that for a second.
And
I want to show you this, that the
body that could no
thing that they just showed. That's what they wanted to do to me.
When I was 17, I had spinal fusion surgery.
That's what I said no to. That's why I said yes to the other, the stomach surgery to change my life instead of that. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah, that was a good move.
And I just look like when I look at this, I go, like a big sigh of relief. Okay.
A metal rod put in my spine. I went from a healthy, active teenager to lying in a hospital bed, unable to walk. And during the many months of rehabilitation, I tried to figure out how to live in this body that could no longer do what it used to. The physical pain was difficult, but worse was the fear and the loneliness, and I simply didn't have the tools to cope. So I began searching for something that could help, and eventually this search led me to a monastery in Thailand for my first meditation retreat. At the monastery, the monks didn't speak much English, and I didn't speak any Thai, but I understood mindfulness had something to do with paying attention in the present moment. My only instruction was to feel the breath going in and out of my nose. So I began. 1 breath, 2 breaths. My mind wandered off. I brought it back. 1 breath, 2 breaths. It wandered again, sucked into the past or lost in the future. And no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't stay present. Now this was frustrating because I thought meditation was supposed to feel like this, and instead it felt more like this. Right? Being present isn't so easy. In fact, check it out for yourself. I've been speaking for about 3 minutes. Have you noticed your mind has wandered? All of our minds wander. Research from Harvard shows the mind wanders on average 47% of the time. 47%. That's almost half of our lives that we're missing, that we're not here. So part of mindfulness is simply learning to train the mind in how to be here, where we already are. Like right now. Let's practice together. Allow your eyes to close and just feel your feet on the floor. Wiggle your toes and sense your whole body sitting here, softening the face, softening the jaw, and notice that you're breathing, feeling the breath as it naturally flows in and out of the body, just being here. And as you're ready, taking a deeper breath in and out, allowing your eyes to open. So, back at the monastery, I was trying hard to do just this, to just be present. But no matter how hard I tried, my mind kept wandering off. And at this point, I really started to judge myself. What is wrong with you? You're terrible at this. Why are you even here? You're a fake. And then not only was I judging myself, I started judging everyone, even the monks. Why are they just sitting here? Shouldn't they be doing something? Thankfully, a monk from London arrived who spoke English. And as I shared with him my struggles, he looked at me and said, "Oh dear, you're not practicing mindfulness. You're practicing judgment, impatience, frustration." And then he said 5 words that have never left me. What you practice grows stronger. What you practice grows stronger. We know this now with neuroplasticity. Our repeated experiences shape our brain. We can actually sculpt and strengthen our synaptic connections based on repeated practice. For example, in the famous study of London taxi drivers, the visual spatial mapping part of the brain is bigger, stronger. They've been practicing navigating the 25,000 streets of London all day long. When you look at the brains of meditators, the areas related to attention, learning, compassion grow bigger and stronger. It's called cortical thickening, the growth of new neurons in response to repeated practice. What we practice grows stronger. The monk explained to me that if I was meditating with judgment, I was just growing judgment. Meditating with frustration, I'm growing frustration. He helped me understand that mindfulness isn't just about paying attention. It's about how we pay attention, with kindness. He said it's like these loving arms that welcome everything, even the messy, imperfect parts of ourselves. He also pointed out that we're practicing all the time, moment by moment, not just when we're meditating, but in every moment. We're growing something in every moment. So the question really becomes, what do you want to grow? What do you want to practice? When I left Thailand, I wanted to keep practicing mindfulness, and I wanted to understand it scientifically. So I began a PhD program, eventually became a professor, and I've spent the past 20 years investigating the effects of mindfulness across a wide range of populations, including veterans with PTSD, patients with insomnia, women with breast cancer, stressed out college students, high-level business executives, and over, the data showed 2 key things. First, mindfulness works. It's good for you. It strengthens our immune functioning, it decreases stress, decreases cortisol, helps us sleep better. When we published our first research back in '98, there were only a handful of studies. Now there are thousands of studies showing the beneficial effects of mindfulness. It's good for us. The second thing we learned was quite unexpected. Almost all the people we were working with, regardless of their age, their gender, their background, were talking about the same thing. This underlying sense of, I'm not good enough, I'm not okay, I'm not living this life right. This tremendous self-judgment and shame. And we all know what they were talking about, because shame is universal. All of us feel it. And worse, we have this mistaken belief that if we shame ourselves, if we beat ourselves up, we'll somehow improve. And yet, shame doesn't work. Shame never works. It can't work. Literally, physiologically, it can't work, because when we feel shame, the centers of the brain that have to do with growth and learning shut down. This fMRI shows the brain on shame. What happens is the amygdala triggers a cascade of norepinephrine and cortisol to flood our system, shutting down the learning centers and shuttling our resources to survival pathways. Shame literally robs the brain of the energy it needs to do the work of changing. And worse, when we feel shame, we want to avoid it. So we hide from those parts of ourselves we're ashamed of, the parts that most need our attention. It's just too painful to look at them. So what's the alternative? Kind attention. First, kindness gives us the courage to look at those parts of ourselves we don't want to see. And second, kindness bathes us with dopamine, turning on the learning centers of the brain and giving us the resources we need to change. True and lasting transformation requires kind attention. And the monk's words echoed in my ears. Mindfulness isn't just about attention, it's about kind attention. This attitude of kindness wasn't just a footnote or something nice to have, it was an essential part of the practice. A part of mindfulness that's so often overlooked. So my colleagues and I developed a model of mindfulness that explicitly includes our attitude and our intention, as well as our attention. All three parts working together synergistically. Put simply, mindfulness is intentionally paying attention with kindness. We used this model while working at the Veterans Hospital for a group of men with PTSD. I was shocked to learn that we lose more veterans to suicide each year than to combat. Our soldiers carry so much pain and shame. So the intention of the mindfulness group was to cultivate this kind attention, even for the seemingly unforgivable parts of ourselves. There was one man in the group who never said a word, never looked up. 2 months passed, he seemed unreachable. And then one day he raised his hand and he said, I don't want to get better. What I saw in the war, what I did, I don't deserve to get better. He then looked down at the floor and proceeded to tell us in great detail what he had seen and what he had done. And I can still feel the horror of what he shared and how his shame filled the room. I looked up to see how the other men were responding, and there was no judgment, only compassion on their faces. I invited him to look up and to witness this compassion and this kindness. And as he slowly looked around the room, his face began to soften. And in his eyes, there was hope. The possibility that he wasn't just his past actions, that he could choose differently now, that he could change. And this may be one of the most important things I've learned. It's that transformation is possible for all of us, no matter what. And it requires kind attention, not shame. And this kind attention takes practice. It takes lots of practice. I want to share with you a simple practice that continues to help me. Some years ago, I was going through a difficult divorce, and I'd wake up every morning with this pit of shame in my stomach. My meditation teacher suggested an explicit practice of kind attention. She said, how about saying, I love you, Shauna, every day? I thought to myself, no way. It felt so contrived. She saw my hesitation and suggested, how about just saying good morning, Shauna? Oh, and try putting your hand on your heart when you say it. It releases oxytocin. It's good for you, you know. She knew the science would win me over. So the next day, put my hand on my heart, took a breath, and said, good morning, Shauna. And it was kind of nice. I continued to practice, and a month later when I saw her, I admitted how helpful it had been. Wonderful, you've graduated, she said. Now, the advanced practice. Good morning, I love you, Shauna. So the next day, put my hand on my heart, anchored myself, and said, good morning, I love you, Shauna. I felt nothing, except maybe a little ridiculous, but definitely not love. But I kept practicing because, as we know, what we practice grows stronger. And then one day I put my hand on my heart, took a breath. Good morning, I love you, Shauna. And I felt it. I felt my grandmother's love. I felt my mother's love. I felt my own self-love. And I wish I could tell you that every day since then has been this bubble of self-love and I've never felt shame or judgment again, and that's not true. But what is true is this pathway of kind attention has been established, and it's growing stronger every day. So I want to invite you tomorrow to put your hand on your heart and say good morning. And if you're really brave, good morning, I love you. Thank you.
I really enjoyed this lady's TED Talk, and it reminded me a lot of the mirror exercise, and a lot of the way that like kind of led me back to really a lot of self-love, especially when I was going through my whole transformation a few years ago. It was that constant kind attention to myself and focusing on all of that. And I think it's a really good reminder as well that just whenever we're having any kind of issue, it's where our attention goes, the energy flows, and to just keep, we can't always, of course, focus on the positive. I mean, you can try, but we're human and we lapse into the negative ruminations, but we can change it. And that's just what I love about her message, is that we can change it, and it's so possible.
That was definitely a very beautiful story.
She's a good storyteller. So basically all of today is about getting your mindset into a place where you have the tools that when you're being mindful and you're having intention with yourself and your actions and your thoughts and your words, you can really make a big shift in your life. And remembering honestly that there's abundance of everything in the universe, and we just have to tap into it and keep believing and trusting that.
Yeah.
So if there's any of your self-coaching that you're working on this week in your challenge and you'd like to have my eyes check it out, let me know, send it in the group or privately, and I will keep you accountable. I'll post that I'm checking in with myself every day too, and I'll post it in the group to hopefully encourage our other participants to join us.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll send you also the slide of your thought ladder.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you. Have a beautiful afternoon and weekend too.
Okay, see you soon.
Okay, bye.